Obviously, he has a tower and a black citadel there, which will slow down those skeletons sufficiently. And Space's Death Knight does have to run back. He's at pretty low health, but a little bit of YL1 Blight should heal him up perfectly fine. And the Lich is pretty much out as well. First statue coming out, and fourth Fiend now coming out as well for Space. So he really has had a pretty slow army. We can take a look at the total gold difference: 8,200 compared to 6,700. So much gold. 1,500 gold lost by Space just in terms of lost mining, not including the cost of all his replacing all those acolytes and stuff like that. Really nice play there by Hopestar. Really managing to get some tremendous harass, but sort of Hopestar does need to continue to keep up the pressure, because this is the point where things can really turn around if you don't play well, and it looks like that's exactly what he's doing. He does manage to get silence on that one Death Knight, which means that he does manage to focus down one of the fiends, and Space's Death Knight has taken a lot of damage, down to only 100 hit points, and Spacer has brought in his ghouls as well. I think he has 500 lumber, so he doesn't really need them for that, and he really could use sort of the blocking ability. Really, just obviously they have more than one use, but just their ability to sort of get in the way of the other ghouls, stop surrounds on the fiends. That's really useful, and very much worth doing if you can. And meanwhile, Hopes are really just hitting and running. I think he's trying to sort of surprise Space, maybe get a surround or something, and in the process is actually meaning that he's taking a fair bit of damage. Obviously, between the fiends and sort of the Lich with an orb, it means that Space has actually been able to do a fair bit of damage here, and Hopestar does manage to chase down that one fiend and does kill it, and I think Space could have coiled it, but for some reason he didn't. And first Destroyer now up for Hopestar, and he immediately absorbed a couple skeletons, and so that mana is going to do a whole lot of damage to those fiends. And I think Space won't have web at this point, and so he won't be able to avoid those Destroyers really. And meanwhile, Space's Lich, now taking a lot of damage, does get coiled and is being forced to run away. But meanwhile, Hopestar's Death Knight has taken a lot of damage. His Destroyer is sticking in the back, only level 2 as well, so sort of really low level coil and aura, but a couple gargoyles now to complement that Destroyer. And it's going to make webbing a lot harder as well, and I think Space has just started that web upgrade now, and Space actually with a couple idle units here, hopefully he'll realise, and he moves them back into the appropriate positions, and Space being a bit careless, I think he sent this Acolyte to repair this one statue, and he's taken it off gold completely, and meanwhile a very nice creep jack here from Space forces Hopestar to use a TP and get out of there, and that Lich does manage to survive though. And he does pick up the greater mana potion as well, which is a pretty nice item for that Death Knight. He actually uses the greater mana potion immediately. That's a bit of an odd choice, but maybe he just wants all these coils. But considering he's only level 2, only level 1 coil isn't really going to do that much. And is Space now going to buy a Dark Ranger? That would make sense, but Space does sort of play a bit strange sometimes. He does buy that Dark Ranger just there. And meanwhile, web has been researched, and so this is really nice for Space. He will just want to focus down these units and then get away. Obviously, he doesn't want to keep his fiends at any one point for too long, because those ghouls will just get good positioning on them. And Space being forced just to sort of hit and run, and it looks like he's switching focus now to the Hopestar's Death Knight, but eventually decides against it and runs away without actually having killed any units, and he now has a much better position. You can see there's a bit of a choke point here, and it looks like this is where he's going to choose to fight until at least he decides to maybe TP out even, because his Lich is taking a lot of damage. It is only level 1, but he does TP out that Lich. He really just doesn't want to lose all that focusing power, and he does manage to get a couple of kills in the process. So some pretty nice play there by Space. He does have to TP out eventually, but Hopes are really dominating this game so far. Obviously he does have to continue up, and I'm not sure his unit combination is tremendously good at this point. He will want to get a couple more varied units, and we'll have to see exactly what Space decides to do as well. He is now getting the Destroyer upgrade himself and putting up another Ziggurat, so maybe actually only has 3 Ziggurats up at this point, so he's been staying below 30 food, or below 40 food, I beg your pardon. And meanwhile, Hopes are at 45 food now, and so he will probably want to get up to 50 and then push immediately, because that's really going to give him a pretty strong unit advantage. And Hopes are now creeping, but obviously tanking on his Dark Ranger, which is obviously an agility hero, so has 5 armor, so it's a very good thing to tank on, because it just takes so little damage, and then you can heal it up with 1 coil. And so that's a pretty sensible thing that undeads do in all matchups, really, and something that's well worth doing if you can. And meanwhile, Hopestar buying an invulnerability potion and picking up a replenishment potion. And well, Space has been creeping out this Merc camp here, and that has got him a Ring of Regeneration, which is a very bad item, really. I mean, it's alright, but combined with all the health regeneration he has already, that's really probably not gonna cut it for him. And a little fight now going on here, and I think Hopestar is looking to sort of end this now, because He does have a pretty nice army. I mean, it's not brilliant, but Space is on Blight now, and don't underestimate the power of Blight. Even if Hopestar does manage to push on eventually, Hopestar's Death Knight actually taking a lot of damage now. He's being forced to use him in invulnerability potion and being forced to run away, and this could be very bad for him. Because without that Death Knight, really, you lose so much. You lose the aura and everything. So he really does need to be very careful to keep that Death Knight alive now. Space doing a good job of microing back his low fiends, and obviously he can just push them between buildings now, and then let his Black Citadel do a lot of the damage and slowing as well. And some pretty nice play here by Space, all things considered. He got a couple he got a couple of Hopestar's flying units webs, and then just it's so easy to focus them down after that. And Hopestar has managed to heal up his Death Knight a small amount, but certainly he's still taking a fair bit of damage on all his units, and I think it's really looking bad enough for Hopestar. He sort of did manage to lose a bit of a one game just through a couple bad decisions, I think. And Hopestar does have a couple fiends of his own now at this point, and he probably, I don't think he has web though, because the Death Knight getting chased away with very low hit points will manage to get away though, and Space will just return just to focusing down these couple low units. Doesn't manage to take down one fiend, and probably will go for the Dark Ranger now, although actually now switching focus to the Lich. That's a bit of an odd choice. Nova goes off and the coil comes out at the last second for the Death Knight just over the trees there, but it's not quite enough to save that Lich, and so the Lich does go down. Hopestar's a GG. So a really enjoyable game there. I really hope you enjoyed that, folks. I basically decided to do this game because I hadn't done an Undead Mirror, and I think that they can be quite interesting, and certainly Space is a great player and really fun to watch, and obviously sort of constantly when watching him going through my mind is sort of, can you imagine if he could use all 10 of his fingers, just how brilliant a player he would be? Because in case you don't know, actually Space has a degenerative condition that allows him to only use I think 6 fingers to play Warcraft 3, and he's sort of constantly getting worse, and which is really, really sad, obviously, but he just sort of makes up for it with such brilliant play, and you can see just sort of how well he managed to play that game. And so I really hope you enjoyed that, folks. Please feel free to comment, rate, subscribe. Thanks.